Okay, we're going to go over today how you can graph a circle when given an equation. So first things first, we want to talk about standard form of a circle equation. Just getting rid of some previous information here, don't mind me. All right. This is standard form. You have x minus a squared plus y minus b squared, and then that equals r squared. So we're going to go over what all these variables mean in the context of circles. Now the center of your circle is going to be represented by AB. Now that's just an ordered pair. Typically you see that as XY, but you'll see that you have other XYs going on here, which is why we use this particular label of AB. And that just tells you where the center of your circle is. X and Y represent any coordinates on the edge of that circle. So technically when you're looking at that circle, if you can find any coordinates, you can plug in XY and that will work within the context of this equation. And then you have your R, which is your radius. So we're going to try an equation or two just to give you some perspective on how to graph these. We're going to use number 12 here. So let's take a look at number 12. I'm going to rewrite it. X minus 5 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 25. All right, so now if you look at the form of the equation, I'm looking for A first, and I'm looking for B. I want to find those centers. Notice that there's subtraction going on here. So that means that these values aren't going to be negative because the form of the equation is to have subtraction in it. Common mistake is people would think that the center would be negative 5, negative 1, but no, it's not. So our center here is going to be positive 5, positive 1. And again, that's because subtraction is built in the standard form of this equation. So I'm going to go to my graph here. I'm going to go to 5, 1. I'm going to graph my circle. I might need a little additional room now I'm looking at here, but that's all right. We'll make it work. Now, next thing I want to find is my radius. So I'm going to take a look, and at the end here, r squared is going to be 25. I'm not liking this highlighting tool today. Impossible. Here we go. You get to see me make mistakes in real time. There's nothing wrong with that. Or not mistakes, but make edits. All right, so I'm going to go r squared equals 25. In order to find what the radius is, I'm going to have to square root it. So square root of 25 is 5. So that tells me is for my circle here, right? I'm going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make a dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have to go all the way up here, make a dot. Go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make a dot. And I'm going to move all this information because I'm going to need this additional space. I probably should have used the larger coordinate grid, but for the sake of what we're doing, this will work. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? So then imagine going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I've got my 4 points. Now, if you're using, like doing this by hand, you can use a compass and then just extend the compass from the center to one of those points and then just go around in a circle like so. Luckily, I have notability, so I can make a pretty good circle, and then I can just kind of tidy it up a little bit. Technology can be very helpful. And there you go. It's pretty good. It's pretty close. Now, what I can do based on this equation that I have is I can plug in any coordinates that lie on this circle's edge and it will work. I'm going to go with 1, 1 because that's one of the coordinates I have here. You'll notice when I went out 5 from my center, one of the coordinates I had was 1, 1. So I'm going to plug it in and see what happens. I'm going to shrink this stuff down because I want some space to plug in those values, see what happens. So I said I'm going to use coordinates 1, 1. 1 minus 5 squared plus 1 minus 1 squared. And that should equal 25. Let me double check my work here. I'll double check my center. It's always good to double check this work here. I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, did that. So then, oh, nope, it's not. My coordinates aren't 1, 1. Good catch. It's 0, 1 here. That's the coordinates of my... That's why it's good to check yourself. 0, 1. Here we go. So the coordinates are 0, 1. Let's plug that in. I knew something seemed fishy. Awesome, because 0 minus 5 gives me negative 5. Negative 5 squared gives me 25. 1 minus 1 gives me 0. 0 squared gives me 0. And hey, look, it works. That's what we're looking for here. We want to see if it works. It's good to check yourself. Initially, I thought I might have done something wrong. It was my coordinates that were off. So that's what you do here to graph a circle based on an equation. Let's try one more. I'm going to try number 14. Number 14 is a little trickier. So let's take a look at 14 here. Now remember, the form of the equation is x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. Now I can identify a. That's pretty easy. It's 2. Now what happens here is a lot of people see the addition sign, the subtraction sign, they get thrown off. And they think, man, okay, I didn't sign up for this. Here's what you can do. Anytime you see addition, what you're really doing is subtracting a negative. And likewise, if you're seeing subtraction here, you're adding the opposite. So I can always change this to minus negative. Because, as you know, when you subtract the negative, it's the same thing as adding. So what that enables me to do here is I can find AB, which would give me positive 2 in this case, and negative 5. So I'm going to go to positive 2, negative 5, and graph that as the center. We're really extending me here, but that's okay. So now I want to look at my r squared, which is 4. R squared equals 4. Square root of 4 gives me 2. So that means that's my radius. So I can go out from my center. I'm going to go out 2. 1, 2. Good. Over 2. Good. Over 2 in this direction here, too. Again, going for my center, just like so. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then, since I'm kind of falling off the grid here, I'm going to just estimate it. And now I've got those 4 points. Again, if you have a hand tool like a compass, you can use that. I'm just going to go with the old circle tool here and Notability. That's pretty darn close. And I have myself a circle. That's how you can use the equation here. And again, you can always check yourself by plugging in some of the coordinates. In this case, I'm going to go with, I'm going to make sure I identify my coordinates correctly, positive 2, negative 3. So I can plug that into my equation, and let's see what happens. So I have 2 minus 2 squared plus negative 3 plus 5 squared, and that should equal 4. Let's see if that works out. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. 0 squared gives me 0. Negative 3 plus 5 gives me 2. 2 squared gives me 4. And you notice it works. So there you go. You don't necessarily have to check it every time. I just like to show that it works. That's why. So this is your standard form equation. Again, x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. And you're able to use the information within these equations to graph circles just like I did. Good luck.